Police emergency.
Hello, I'm a door supervisor. I've just been told a young lady has been stabbed. Yeah, she's on the floor. Hello, can everyone calm down a second, please? Who by? Do you know who by?
Where is he now?
I don't know. He's run off. Is she alright? Is she still breathing? Okay. I've just been found out someone else has been stabbed now. He's been stabbed in the neck.
Oh, he was an absolutely fantastic young man. I know I'm his mum, so obviously I'm going to say that. He was fun, cheeky, full of life, full of happiness. Things were going really well for Jacob at the time of his death.
What we saw during those early hours was clearly a state of shock within the community about what had taken place.
Police emergency.
One guy tried to stab me on the street and he stabbed me in the neck, but...
You've been stabbed in the neck?
Yes, but I to the last moment...
Are you bleeding?
Yeah, I'm bleeding a little bit, but not...
Where are you, please, sir?
It was just because I moved in the last moment. He tried to stab me with a big knife in the neck. He asked me for 2 cigarettes. I gave to him, and when I was giving him the cigarettes, he tried to stab me in the neck, and I moved. I saw the night before.
So we know that McLeod had moved now from Constitution Hill here onto Livery Street near to the junction of Barwick Street, where a young lady had just finished work and was here, sat on a mobile phone. It was at this point when he struck again, striking her with a knife towards her face and then towards her neck. She then sought salvation from passing motorists, whilst McLeod then moved on into Barwick Street.
Ambulance service, is the patient breathing?
Now someone's been stabbed.
He's been stabbed, is he breathing?
Yeah, Barwick Street, Birmingham, he's been stabbed.
Is he breathing?
Yeah, no, he's breathing now, but we're putting pressure on the wound.
Is he awake? Is he awake?
Yeah, he's awake, he's awake.
So we now know at this point McLeod had walked from Barwick, where he dumped the knife in the drain here. Forensic examination of the knife that we recovered, which was a black-handled knife, revealed McLeod's DNA present on the handle, but also the DNA of the last 2 victims. It wasn't very clear early on that all of these offences were linked, and I think whilst it was very easy for people to draw that conclusion, when we're confirming that and we're being really clear about who we're looking for and who's responsible for offences, we need to be 100% sure that those are all linked matters. Unfortunately, it's pains to say that sometimes stabbings in the city centre, can be commonplace of a weekend. There were descriptions provided of the person that was believed to be responsible. Some of the factors that were involved in providing those descriptions, where you've got people who were perhaps slightly intoxicated. So initially those incidents weren't necessarily pulled together as what we would suggest is a series of offending. And what we then saw was a gap in offending. There was a period of time where resources were deployed to those areas, ambulance resources to provide assistance to those victims, but also officers trying to search for an individual or individuals, because the descriptions were that different, who were responsible for those matters.
Yeah, he was just going for a night out, and I wasn't worried in the slightest.
Patient breathing.
Hello, is he breathing?
Is he breathing and conscious?
He's losing a lot of blood from the neck.
Is he breathing and conscious?
He's conscious.
Okay.
Not really, he's losing consciousness.
Right, where are you? How old's the patient? Roughly?
23.
Okay. And what's happened there?
There was a man walking, and then next minute there was blood everywhere, and I think he was stabbed in the neck.
Okay.
Well, we just got a knock on the door from the police in the very early hours. It was Merseyside police who came to give us the message, and they didn't have a heap of information really. I had no idea anything had gone on in Birmingham, although I believe it was all over the news, but I'd already gone to bed. And we just got a knock on the door, 2 police officers, exactly how you think it is. You know, we've got something to tell you, can we come in? And then it was Jacob in Birmingham last night? You know, we're sorry to tell you that there's been an incident in Birmingham and Jacob's passed away. It was absolutely horrendous, and then we had to make the decision about when we were waking the girls up to tell them, because we'd been told about 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock. So that, you know, how are you going to do that? What are you going to tell? I remember going to get your abs, didn't I, and telling you to come downstairs, and you had a big cob on because I'd woke you up.
It's like 7 or 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Just no idea why you were getting me up.
And his youngest sister, Isabel, was only 13 at the time. So we brought them downstairs and just had to tell them what had happened. I think it's, if anyone's got kids here, it's like your worst nightmare, and it is as bad as you think.
We were called in the morning about 5:30 by a nurse to say that he was in theatre and he was stable. And so obviously that was, you know, terrible to hear. We didn't know what she was talking about, and I said, "What's happened?" She said, "He's been stabbed," and I couldn't grasp it at all. And we don't really understand how he even survived, because people don't survive those injuries, do they? So we don't understand why he survived. We've had real milestones, you know, and being able to sit up and being able to sit in an ordinary wheelchair. You know, obviously him getting up on his feet, using the stairs. I mean, we've had just some fantastic milestones, and I'm sure there's more to come, you know, because he's so determined. He really is a very, very, very determined young man. He talks about his loss and his grief. He did say he would swap places if he could.
I'd love to ask him why. Why did he pick Jacob? Why did he pick Michael? Why did he pick those other people who were doing no harm on the night? But I think this year I've tried my best to sort of try and concentrate on what I can change or have an impact with, rather than the things I can't change. And I can't change him or why he did it.
He's not answered any questions. He's not talked about it. We don't know anything about why he did what he did.
Hello, ambulance service. Is the patient breathing?
Oh, yo, listen, someone just been stabbed on Hurst Street.
Okay, are they breathing unconscious?
Listen, they're conscious, yeah, but listen, they need to hurry up, and they're going to die, you know.
Listen to me. Are they breathing unconscious?
Yeah, they're conscious, yeah, but they're not about to be in it.
They just stabbed him in the neck in town, on Hurst Street. He just stabbed him, out of nothing, he just stabbed him up.
Random man's come up to him and he tried to cut his neck.
Okay. So
I can hear some sirens. I haven't seen nothing. I can hear some sirens coming now. I've just been found out someone else has been stabbed now. He's been stabbed in the neck.
This is the patient breathing.
She's breathing, I'm sure look good.
Is she conscious and awake?
Huh?
Is the patient
Send
conscious and awake?
ambulance.
Is the patient conscious and awake?
Yeah. Yes, man, she ain't going to last long. Send ambulance. It's Hurst Street, man, it's Hurst Street.
That was the best quality footage we had available at that particular time. If we'd have released footage prior to that, it would have been of even further poor quality, and we would have risked diverting our police resources away from identifying and arresting somebody and bringing them into the system a lot quicker, and therefore wider risk to the public. So we ultimately ended up arresting McLeod for the matters. A lot of that work was through good police work. A member of the public approached an officer on the cordon from a takeaway who had had somebody come into their restaurant just after 1 o'clock in the morning, where they had asked to use a knife. They refused to give them a knife, but ultimately ordered a taxi for them. We were able to quickly track down that taxi driver and understand where he had taken that individual to a road within the south of the city, within the Selly Oak area.
Zephaniah McLeod! Come to the front door now! Come downstairs! Come to us! Walk down to us, Zephaniah! Keep your hands where we can see them! Get your hands where we can see them! Drop that on the floor! Drop that on the floor now! Put the jumper down! Put the jumper down! Walk downstairs! I'm going to address the left and the centre. Walk downstairs! Yeah. Stand still! Stand still! Turn round! Turn round! Walk back! Walk back! Hands behind your back. Yeah. I've got other people in here, at least 2 female and 1 other male. 1 secure. Keep walking back.
8 people stabbed, one of which tragically lost his life, a young man with his whole life ahead of him. Thousands of hours of CCTV were recovered. You know, a lot of viewing by specially trained officers to identify McLeod's movements throughout the city centre that night and present, you know, his character, and speaking with a lot of witnesses who were witness to what were some really tragic and severe assaults. The physical scars, some of which have, you know, still remain, but also the mental scars that, you know, the victims have received, and the families. And moving forward, they'll be continued supported by specialist trained officers.